Hey everybody, welcome back to Sunday Afternoon Smokes, your casual conversation podcast from the upstate of South Carolina. My name is Chris, I'm your host, I'm a realtor. I'm also the owner and operator of The Cigar Box, a mobile cigar bar that serves the upstate and beyond. And if you've been listening to SAS, or Sunday Afternoon Smokes, SAS for short, I'd appreciate it if you drop me a review. And today I have the pleasure of sitting down with Marty Van Dam and Lucas de Affonseca. I didn't say that correctly.
Nailed it. You nailed it.
Nailed it?
Nailed
Okay.
it. Yeah.
So Marty and Lucas, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Absolutely. So what I like to do is I let my guests introduce themselves. So take a minute, say hey, say as much or as little about yourself as you like, and then we'll jump into the show.
Hey, my name is Lucas de Affonseca. I'm here because about four years ago, I suffered a major hemorrhagic stroke that has led to a lot of growth, a lot of problems as well. But I'm just really happy to be here with Marty as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm Marty Van Dam. I'm a speech pathologist, and I manage the Outpatient Brain Injury and Young Stroke program at Rogers C. Peace. I have been practicing for, close to 20 years, and I'm happy to be here as well to talk about stroke and some of the initiatives that Lucas and I have gotten ourselves into.
Awesome. I read your profile and saw, or not your profile, but what you shared with me before the show about being a speech pathologist. And so let me give a quick shout out to our friend Lauren Harrell, who is the owner of Turtle on a Post in Greenville, who is a speech pathologist, a friend of Jennifer's. And she's just been donating her time twice a week, an hour every time, to just help. Yes, for those of you listening, I did bring Jennifer with me. So she's sitting here, babe. You want to say hi? Yeah, so she's here. She doesn't normally join me. I interviewed her on my podcast. Like, I don't remember what episode number it was because she ran she was a midwife doing a full midwife practice, and so I interviewed her. She's a guest on the podcast, but now she's here joining us today. And look, for the listeners, today's podcast a little bit different. We're skipping the cigar section altogether because this podcast is all about strokes. And as you all know, my beautiful wife suffered a brain aneurysm and a stroke mid-April, and our lives have been obviously forever changed. Right. And when we were in rehab at RCP, or Roger C. Peace, for those of you who don't know, RCP, our OT, Whitney, told us about a young stroke support group, and we decided to check it out. So we've been to a couple of meetings. We didn't make the last one. And we went, and I thought, I should just do a podcast about strokes. And I've learned just by personal experience and talking to some other people who are involved in charities and volunteer work, like, I understand why people who go through something start a charity, because it changes your life, and I thought, like, just on a corny cheese ball kind of, like, I want to start my own foundation and donate money to RCP and maybe Benchmark Therapy and Easily, who are helping us, but use my cigar business and call it Smokes for Strokes. And we'll do we'll do fundraisers. We'll get all the cigar community together. We'll do giveaways and just do an annual party. But I understand, like, it's life altering, but so no cigars today. We're also recording inside an official Prisma Health building. Yeah. So they'd probably frown on that, This isn't the 50s. So I wanted to have a medical professional for the episode, which is Marty, and Lucas here, as he mentioned, 4 years ago had a stroke. And so we have the practical side of both. We have the practical and the professional side. So Marty, let's start with the basics.
Mm-hmm.
So before my wife had a stroke, I don't know that I could even have told you what a stroke was, other than I knew it was something to do with the brain that was not good.
Yeah.
So give us kind of like, what is a stroke and what happens to your brain when you have one?
Well, there's two different kinds of stroke. There's hemorrhagic strokes and embolic strokes. So a hemorrhagic stroke is basically when a blood vessel breaks, and an embolic stroke is when a blood clot travels to the brain.
Okay.
And it causes lack of oxygen to the brain. So you can have lots of damage to the brain in different areas depending upon what kind you have and the location where the stroke happens in your brain.
Well, I was reading, and there's what they call, I guess, ischemic, which is, as far as I understand it, that would just be like for some reason there's a loss of oxygen to the brain, which causes a stroke. But in embolic or which is an embolism, I mean the outcome's the same. And a blood clot would cut off blood flow,
correct,
reducing oxygen,
yes.
and then bang, you have a stroke. And a stroke is considered a TBI.
A stroke is an acquired brain injury. So TBI is traumatic brain injury.
Okay.
So that means generally something traumatic happened to the brain. Acquired brain injury is something like an external force.
They got in a car wreck.
Correct. A stroke is something that happens internally to the brain. So it's an acquired brain injury. When we say acquired brain injury, that's something that occurs after birth. So it's not necessarily genetic or congenital. It happens to folks just
at random,
out of the blue. And it fits under that class of acquired brain injury. So you have within acquired brain injury concussions, strokes, traumatic brain injuries like contusions, hemorrhages from hitting your head, falls. Those could be acquired brain injuries.
Okay.
Cancer, tumors, those are acquired brain injuries as well. Yeah.
That makes sense. And so correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no warning signs for a stroke, right? I mean, we all know, like, if you see somebody that's slurring their speech and half their face is drooping, I mean, that's not a warning sign. That's an indicator that this is happening.
That's a symptom.
But there's no precursor to a stroke. It just comes from nowhere.
Right. You can have.
I mean, we might understand like why that happened after the fact, but for all intents and purposes, it's like unannounced.
Yeah, when you're having a stroke, all those symptoms, those are symptoms that you mentioned. So blurry vision, facial drooping, or difficulty using a part of your body on one side, kind of weakness on one side. Those are symptoms of stroke. Certainly there are risk factors. So, like monitoring blood pressure, diabetes, all those other medical conditions that can kind of be precursors to strokes.
So those are kind of like links or things to watch out for.
Correct.
Okay. But would you say, I know you asked me before the podcast if I was going to ask you super technical. I don't think we're super technical yet, right? I mean, you're comfortable with all this stuff?
Yes.
Would you say strokes are totally random, though?
I don't know how to answer that question because I think there are certain things that can lead to stroke in terms of those medical aspects I talked about. But I think there is a randomness to strokes.
Yeah, I have questions about that later.
Oh, okay.
So we can circle back to it.
Okay. Well, I have my computer.
Okay,
so
cool beans. She has her computer. So Lucas, tell us about your stroke.
Yeah. Excuse me. So 4 years ago, I was living in New York City. I was living what people would call the dream. I lived in Manhattan on the Upper West Side in a 2-floor apartment, 2 blocks from Central Park. I worked a fancy job in advertising, making over 6 figures. So it was the dream, quote unquote. And I was also engaged to be married at that time too. We were going to get married in Central Park, like that movie 27 Dresses, and at the Bow House, which has since closed, by the way. And so my fiance at the time, her family had a family vacation to Hilton Head, South Carolina. And so I went with them. And on one of the first nights I was there, I told my fiance, I said, hey, I got a really bad headache. Maybe we should go to the hospital and check this out. And that's the last thing that I remember. The rest I was told. So they put me in a car. They drive me to the Hilton Head Hospital. And along the way, they realized I was in bad shape. So they actually had an EMT pick me up on the side of the road and take me to the Hilton Head Hospital. There, they saw that I was having a major hemorrhagic stroke. So they put a blood drain in my head and put me in a helicopter and sent me to Savannah, where there was a super specialized surgeon that could operate on me. And he did. So my stroke was caused by an AVM.
What's that?
Arteriovenous malformation. And that's essentially just a cluster of blood vessels that grew in my brain incorrectly, all intertwined. And that's something that I was born with.
Okay.
And most people who have AVMs don't know they have an AVM.
Sure. Why would you know that?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Until it bursts.
Explodes.
Yeah. Until it explodes in your brain.
Yeah, until it kills you.
Yeah, totally. So they airlifted me to Savannah, where they did a surgery to remove the AVM. Thankfully, they removed the AVM entirely, so I can never have another stroke caused by that AVM.
Right.
Thank God. But it also put me in a coma for a month after the surgery. Yeah. Just to like calm down my brain, they put me in a coma. And I only had a 3% chance of survival. They obviously didn't tell us at the moment.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to. But we found out after the fact that there was only a 3% chance. And thankfully I made it. Here I am. But you know what? Everything that you've seen in the movies about comas are wrong. They're all wrong.
Okay. Yeah. Break that down for us, man.
I don't remember a damn thing. People come out, like in the movies, like people come out as like, oh, I speak a new language, or like I have these new insights, like they have these wonderful experiences. And I was like, I don't remember shit. I don't remember a thing, and I came out, the only thing I came out with was a craving for Chick-fil-A.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah, that was it. I was like, what? I was like,
what specifically?
Milkshakes.
Oh, yeah.
Milkshakes. Yeah, no new language, no crazy insight, no like, oh, I was with my family on the other side. I saw God, and some people do. I was actually just with some people who had a different rehab center speaking, and there's a couple people who remembered everything from when they were in the coma. Which is wild. And I'm like, you know what? I think I didn't remember anything from the coma, because if I would have seen the other side, I would not have come back. I'm like, screw that. This is amazing.
So you spent a month.
We're glad you came back.
Yeah.
Thank
You spent a month in a coma, but it's just a month gone from your brain. Like there's nothing there it was like I was just asleep for a month.
Yeah. And also like the month before, at least a month before, I have very little memories. And then the month after, like really nothing going on. Not much at all.
Okay.
The only thing that I will say that happened is my mom told me, so I'm Brazilian.
Right.
And long story, but I had to relearn Portuguese at some point. So I speak Portuguese with a little bit of an accent.
A Brazilian accent?
With an American accent.
With an American accent.
Yeah. So it doesn't sound 100. It sounds like 90% natural, like I was born and raised in Brazil. And my mom said that when I came out of the coma, for the first couple of weeks, I spoke entirely without an accent.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then I just came back after the month.
Wow.
I know. And she also said that I told her.
Was that your first language?
Technically, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the non-technical answer?
So I was born in Southern Illinois. And when I was 1, I moved to Brazil.
Okay.
Because my dad is Brazilian. So we all moved to Brazil. So Portuguese is my first language. I lived there for 5 years. When I was 6, I moved back to the United States with my mom, and I completely forgot Portuguese within a year, and had to learn English for the first time. So I completely lost Portuguese. So when I was 15 in high school, I couldn't communicate with my Brazilian family anymore, and my dad was still in Brazil. So my twin brother and I made the decision to go to Brazil to relearn Portuguese so that we could communicate with our family. So that's why in that 1 year we were there, we relearned, thank God. We speak very well, but there's a little bit of an accent
Yeah.
and some grammatical errors too
Yeah,
sometimes.
sure. Well, that's a wild story, man. More than obviously I knew just by coming to the few stroke support meetings, and like the whole month-long coma. That's crazy. It's just all crazy. It really is. I would say that my wife's stroke is like the result of the surgery. I mean, and that's not me blaming the surgery or the surgeons. It's just that she had a 3-centimeter brain aneurysm that was slightly hemorrhaging.
Yep.
And as far as I understand, look, I'm not a medical professional. I did not stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. So I'm totally disqualified all the way around. But she, from what I understand, a 3-centimeter aneurysm is enormous as far as aneurysms go. I mean, and if that hadn't, it was like yours. She just started with a headache on Friday. Yeah. That progressively got worse and worse. And I mean, like rocking back and forth, holding your head, pulling your hair. Bad.
Yeah.
And if that hadn't been dealt with, that's certain death.
100%.
So there was no choice but to go into her brain and try and fix the aneurysm. It's like it's a catch-22. Like anytime you're like doing surgery in somebody's brain, that's a high-risk maneuver, right?
Yep.
So during the procedure, she developed clots in her brain, which restricts blood flow, reduces oxygen, and then bam, you have a stroke. Yep. A necessary procedure to save her life with a high risk for a negative outcome. And that's the situation we're in now. Now, no coma. Coming out of the surgery, of course, very foggy, obviously. But like I remember her coming out of the surgery, and she immediately knew that something was wrong with this arm.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work, and she's like moving it, trying to wake it up, which it breaks my heart just to like go back and replay that in my mind. But I've been told by everybody that no two strokes are the same. And they affect everyone differently. But generally speaking, what does the aftermath of a stroke look like? Generally speaking.
Well, there's lots of different problems because it depends on the physical aspect of the stroke in the brain and where that's impacting your brain. So, if you have a stroke on kind of the left side of your brain, you're going to have difficulty depending upon where it's located with your speech. You may have difficulty with swallowing. You may have difficulty with facial weakness. If you have a stroke on more of the right side of your brain, you're going to have difficulty with things like your executive skills, so problem solving, memory. That's not to say people with a stroke on the left side of the brain can also have difficulty with memory. Deep brain strokes tend to be more kind of bodily functions and emotions.
What's deep brain?
So like in the brain stem.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have
people throwing stuff.
So in the deep brain, you could have difficulties with like emotional dysregulation, where you could have folks that maybe cry a lot, and sometimes that can be appropriate and sometimes not. You can definitely have difficulty with memory when you have a deep brain stroke as well. Lots of difficulty depending upon where it is with the swallow function as well, and then also. You had difficulty with swallowing?
No, she didn't.
Oh, well, that's good.
Thank God.
And then also just physical, physical aspects. So depending upon which side of the brain the stroke occurs, you can have difficulty with the opposite side of your body. And those can range anywhere from difficulty with coordination. It could be difficulty with tone, strength, coordination, and even motor planning. So the idea that, your brain has trouble giving the signal in the sequence that you need to perform the action. So that's often difficult for folks to kind of conceptualize because you have your strength in your muscles and then you have the way you coordinate those together. So, for example, with speech, you can have a motor planning disorder where it's not necessarily that the muscles can't produce those sounds. It's just that the way the brain is sending signals to your mouth is disrupted.
Okay.
So somebody might try to say a word and the sounds come out jumbled, like mixed up.
That's her.
Yeah. But then you can also have, there's lots of different types of aphasia, where that's more of how the brain is retrieving and accessing the language piece. And so that's different than motor planning, where you know what you want to say, you can think of the right word, but getting it out is laborious. It takes a lot of effort and time.
Yeah. Well, and
you can have both of those things.
Okay. Well, like just from a guy, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm struggling to differentiate between the motor planning and the aphasia that you mentioned.
Yes.
Because maybe they're related.
It could
or
be
very
both also.
Cousins. Like, because I think she knows what she wants to say.
Mm-hmm.
She just can't get her, tongue and lips to coordinate properly to make the sounds. So I don't know if that's aphasia or if it's motor planning or if it's both or like, I don't know.
That sounds like motor planning, apraxia of speech, but I'm not your therapist, so I can't diagnose you. But often there are, depending upon where exactly in the brain the injury occurred, you could have aspects of both.
Yeah, so she was left brain.
Mm-hmm.
So right side affected, and we were told that the aneurysm was in the portion of the brain that controls speech to begin with, and then a very large stroke in that area. Yeah, but I've seen significant improvement in her speech in the last several weeks, which is encouraging to me and to her, of course. I mean, she's crazy. Like, she's trying to convince me to let her drive with her left, she can drive with her left foot and use her left hand. I'm like, yeah, no, we're not gonna do that. we talked about that on the way over here. She's like, no, well, we just practice in a parking lot. And I'm like, no, you can drive. You drive right.
And I understand. Yes, I do, and I understand that independence piece of it. I can drive for the first maybe year and a half, maybe 2 years. And all you want to do is get out of your house. All you want to do, because you're stuck in there every single day, not being able to move very well in your house either. So I had to take the driving test, with Roger C. Peace, with the occupational therapist.
Oh, I was going to ask you what that process is like to get your driving bona fides again.
Well, so I had cognitive difficulties. So they're like, your ass is not getting behind the wheel. No way. So it took a long time for me to be cognitively good enough to be able to be trusted behind the wheel. And also I had visual deficits too. I had lost my depth perception for...
this man is a miracle.
Not good for driving.
Yeah, right. Not good for driving. Yeah, I lost my depth perception, which took me a year of vision therapy to get back. And I also lost a good amount of my peripheral vision on the left-hand side. So I wasn't seeing very much. And that, again, took a year of vision therapy to be able to get enough of that depth perception back and peripheral vision to be legally allowed to drive. So they reached out to the rehab center here to be like, hey, he's good. And then I took the test with an occupational therapist, and I think I may or may not have failed the vision part of it. My mom was in the meeting with me, and she's like, it was brutal watching you in that part. She's like, I wasn't sure you were going to pass. And when I finished it, the occupational therapist is like, listen, you didn't test very well on paper. I'm a little bit nervous to take you out on the road, but a lot of the times people do much better in the practical part of actually driving than they do on this portion. So let's give it a shot. And thankfully that was it. I was able to drive fine. I was able to get on 385, and I passed. But you don't get your license back when you pass this test.
Oh, okay.
What you do is they say, okay, now you can go to the DMV and get your license there. But because I came from out of state, I did not have a South Carolina license. I had a New York license. I had to retake both the written and the driven test. And luckily the written
about stress.
Yeah, I know, right? So I was so stressed. I found all the practice exams online, and the written part was easy, super easy. But the driven, the part where I was actually driving, also wasn't that hard. It was similar to what I did here at Rogers CP's. And luckily for me, we get back to the parking lot, and the lady was like, "Okay, we're doing parallel parking." I
Oh, wow.
was like, "I'm so bad at parallel parking." But she's like, "Hold on, just a second." She's like, "The way that I have to drive is I'm left side affected, so I drive with a knob on the steering wheel."
Suicide knob.
Yeah, I feel like a badass, honestly.
Yeah.
Because those knobs are not allowed. They're not allowed anymore. And also, there's the turn signals on the left side behind the wheel. So there's a little stick that extends out to the right, so behind the right wheel. So if my hand's on the steering wheel, I can put my fingers out and lift it up and down.
Yeah.
It doesn't for me. So anyway, the lady that was with me, I was like, I've never done this test with someone who needed adaptive equipment. So let me run inside real quick. And she comes back to the car and she's like, "Okay, I checked. You actually," she's like, "you can't parallel park. So it's not part of the test. You passed." I was like,
"Oh, what? What do you mean you can't? Like you're not allowed to? Or what does that mean? You didn't even ask.
I did not ask on purpose. I was like, "Well,
you don't ask for clarification."
Yeah. Because I practiced parallel parking before and I did it fine. It's a little bit difficult. I also lived in New York City, so like parallel parking is everything.
It's a way of life.
Exactly. So I was fine with it. Not as good as I was, and so I didn't ask questions. I was like, "Hey, Pat, let's go, get me out of here before she asks me any more questions."
Yeah, wow.
But that was the biggest win that I think I've had post stroke.
Is getting your driver's license back. You get your independence back, like you said. You will drive again. It just be a little while.
Yeah.
A short time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Perspective is it took me 2 years, so you'll get there.
Yeah.
You'll get there. It won't take 2 years, I got a feeling, but like you'll get there for sure.
Yeah. So you already covered a little bit about your life before your stroke, quote unquote, living the dream, as you put it, to like 6-figure marketing, Upper West Side, Manhattan, like, yeah, man, right by Central Park. That was your life before. So what does your life look like now? Because I just want to help people understand the practical severities of a stroke. And everyone knows strokes are bad, but I'm not sure that they grasp the extent. Yeah. Right. So, I mean, obviously, you mentioned you're compromised on the right side of your left side of your body, but it's kind of give us the overview or the close up, whatever you want to do, about what does your life look like now?
Yeah. And I also want to back up too, because a lot of times when people see me, there's a lot of pity in their eyes, and they go, "Man, your life must be so hard," and it has its unique difficulties for sure, as you know. But this is also the happiest I've ever been, and I'm a disabled person, right? Physically disabled person.
I love that.
Yeah, and it took a lot of therapy. It took a lot of introspective, a lot of work on myself, and a lot of perspective to understand, oh, my life actually wasn't this perfect life that I knew I had, was not perfect. Turns out the stroke helped me realize I really disliked my job. I really disliked my job, even though I was making so much money.
That's sorry to interrupt, but that statement just shows you that 6 figures don't make you happy, or 7, or that your body is in peak physical operating condition. That's not happiness. Happiness is an internal contentment and happiness and joy. Those are internal choices that you make. And that's awesome. Sorry to interrupt, but
no, and it's a good tangent too, because I tell people, I'm like, "Oh, this is the happiest I've ever been," and people are like, "Wow, it must be crazy to feel happiness all the time." I'm like, I laugh in their faces.
You're like, "I'm human."
Yeah. I was like, I wouldn't want that life either. People would be like, "What's wrong with this guy?" if I was literally feeling happy all the time. Happiness, and I have a few definitions of happiness, but it's essentially knowing that there's going to be ups and downs, knowing that there's a reason for the ups and the downs, and there's learnings to be taken from them. And for me, knowing that I have the ability to dig myself out of the holes and I'm in the downs. So it's not a fluffy definition by any means. But yeah, it's incredible that I've got here. And it was something that's interesting too, going back to what you're saying, like the perfect life. I found my old journal from before the stroke. And my last entry was probably 4 months before I had the stroke. And the entry was, it's just like, I finally did it. I'm in New York City. I'm living, I have a 6-figure salary. Like, I'm living financially comfortable the way that I wanted to. I'm engaged to be married to someone who is incredibly beautiful, like way more attractive than I am. Like when we were at bars, and I would be at the bar with friends. They'd be like, dude, wait till you see Lucas's girlfriend. She's so much more attractive than him. And I didn't know if I should be offended by that or not, or the opposite, but like, I was like, fine. I took a lot of pride in that. But the end of this entry is like, I have it all, but for some reason it doesn't feel right and it doesn't feel enough.
You wrote that down?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that actually helped me. I was like, okay, I knew something was wrong. Thank God I knew. But that was my last entry. And then a few months later, I had a stroke. Yeah. And thank God it got me out of that job. It got me out of a semi-abusive relationship. That was not good news. So it takes a lot of work to then be so incredibly thankful for something that seems so terrible, right?
Yeah.
So that's my plug, to be like, everybody needs therapy. Go to a therapist. See a therapist, because I did years of therapy and it helped a lot.
Yeah. So,
I was going to say, but you're talking about not
like a psychologist.
Psychology,
or psychiatrist,
counseling.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. So how long did it take? Well, I don't know. I mean, did you not struggle with speech after you?
No, because like Marty said, it's on the other side of the brain.
Okay.
It happened. So I actually didn't.
Well, I was say, because when you came out, you're like throwing down Portuguese with no accent, so you didn't struggle with speech.
Right.
So what about your ability to walk?
Yeah, so I was in a wheelchair for the first 5 months. I wasn't able to stand.
Well, you've got that beat.
Nice. Nice.
Was it that just to prove the point that every stroke is different?
There's a range.
There's and that's a very broad scale. So you couldn't even stand? Is that what you said? Or for 5 months?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
So go ahead.
Yeah. So it took me all that time to be able to stand up and be able to brush my teeth. I remember my therapist, like, you got to the point now you can stand and brush your teeth. And I was like, I was actually pissed. I was like, that's more work. I was like, why can't I just sit? That'd be so much easier.
Just sit down to brush your teeth.
Yeah, exactly. So I was in a wheelchair, and in those first 5 months too, my cognitive functioning was so poor. Especially problem solving, short-term memory was really bad. So my mom and my stepdad had just moved to Greenville, South Carolina from Florida, like a couple of months before my stroke. So I was going to Shepherd Center in Atlanta, which is a really renowned rehab center. And so my mom would come visit on the weekends because she works full time. And she would come. I have 4 siblings, and she would come visit. And I say, Mom, how are the siblings doing? And she'd go by one and tell me their lives. And by the time she'd finish, I'd be like, hey, Mom, quick question. How are the siblings doing? And then, like, with so much grace, she would go down the line again, right? But that's how bad my short-term memory was.
Wow.
So, like, I wasn't in my...
How was your awareness of that?
Oh, 0.
Yeah.
0. My awareness was awful, too. I didn't know that I was like, oh, I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Right? And so that was really hard to, like, I couldn't even have conversations, really, because I would forget what people had just told me mid-conversation. So I couldn't follow. Yeah, my awareness of it was poor.
Yeah.
And my mind was like, oh, I guess I'm doing all right.
Mm-hmm.
People were like, oh my God, he's not okay. He's not okay. So that was really hard. I really didn't have any movement in my left side, and my arm didn't have any movement yet. Weirdly, the first thing to come back was my fingers. They say, and it's not the case, but they say a lot of the times the first thing that comes back is what's closest to your brain. And mine, for my arm, is the farthest. My fingers came back first, and I'm still working on my shoulder to this day. So it was at Shepherd Center. I was doing therapy 5 days a week, 3 hours a day. Speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy. Occupational therapy is for your upper extremity. Physical is for your lower extremity. So I had them back to back 5 days a week, super intense. And then I came to Greenville, moved in with my parents, and I started here at Roger C. Peace. where I was doing therapy 3 days a week. And each time I came in, I was doing it for 3 hours as well. Speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy. So that encompasses Shepherd Center in Atlanta, and then here encompasses about 1.5 years, 2 years of my journey in therapy.
Yeah. But you can walk now. I saw you walk in,
Yeah.
and you've also had several surgeries on your foot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I've had 3 surgeries.
And I guess those were to help the walking
Yeah, so my foot, so imagine thank you. So imagine if you're looking at your foot, like my big toe pulled in, and so I wear a brace. I wore a brace that like tied down my foot. If I did not wear a brace, my foot would be completely on its side and turned in. So it'd be extremely painful for me to walk.
Yeah.
And I was told by doctors and therapists that there was nothing that could be done. That's the way it'd be for the rest of my life, and it would most likely get worse. And then I found through my mom's coworker had a surgery. And I actually went to a podiatrist, and I was like, hey, tell me about my foot. He's like, yeah, no, there's nothing you can do. It's going to get worse. He even did an assessment of my foot. He's like, yep, nope, nothing you can do. I was like, dope. Thanks, friend. But he was the first one that mentioned, he's like, I would recommend a surgery to you, but it would be like, you would have to find the head of the orthopedic department in the Research Triangle in North Carolina. And so that's when I was like, okay, maybe there's a surgical option. So I found one surgeon who extended my calf tendon to fix. I had almost a drop foot, so I couldn't lift my foot at all. It just kind of like hung down. So he fixed that piece. And then I found another surgeon who did a wild surgery that I can't even explain via podcast because I don't think I would be able to get the point across. It's crazy. But he essentially moved multiple tendons from one side of my foot to the other. And that flattened, and he extended my Achilles tendon as well.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And also he did a surgery on all 5 of my toes to be able to flatten them out as well.
So everything was curled up?
Yep. Exactly.
Okay.
All my toes. I had hammer toes for all my toes. So I'll never be able to.
So imagine walking like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's painful.
It's almost like clubfoot.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. And I asked my surgeon, I was like, what's the loss? I was like, he's like, you'll never be able to bend your toes again. And I was like, oh man, that's a bummer. Like, what do I lose? Right. And I was like, that seems important. And he's like, well, honestly, he's like, the only real reason to bend your toes is if you're like climbing a tree. I'm like, okay, great. I was like, do it.
You're like, I want to do weekends.
Yeah, right. Major bummer. There goes my hobbies.
What do you do for fun? I'm a tree climber.
Yeah, exactly. So he snipped a tendon in every single one of my toes to flatten them out. So now I actually walked barefoot for the first time a couple of weeks ago, which was extremely exciting because I wasn't able to before because my toes would curl and it'd be super painful.
Yeah.
So that was huge. Again, just having been told by like a half dozen people of like medical professionals that there's nothing that I could do. You go into a really bad place.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, oh, I guess I'm never getting better. This is it for me. And not only that, it's going to get worse. So to find these surgeons, obviously there's a lot of hope. And they're like, oh, like the first person to look at my foot, like every time someone would look at my foot, I can see in their eyes, they're like, oh shit, there's nothing I can do here. Right. And then I saw these 2 surgeons and they're like, oh no, you're like, you're good. I got you.
That just like, I'm grateful for the medical community and all the advancements that we have, but I just try and keep in mind that it is a practice and it is an opinion. And to your point, what one person says, what multiple people say, no, there's nothing we can do. This will be this way forever. Somebody else will be like, yeah, we can fix that. And it's just a matter, like, you got to find those people.
Well, it's like anything. I mean, you have experts in the field, but those experts only know what have the perspective on, right?
Right.
What they've come across, what they've researched, where they studied, who they've studied underneath. And, the medical profession is always changing. We're always learning new things. So, second opinions are always great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I appreciate a lot is I've had so many people like, yeah, there's nothing you can do, where really medical professionals should tell me, hey, this is really the edge of my knowledge.
Right. There's nothing I can do.
Exactly. Like my physical therapist that I still work with today, she also is an occupational therapist. And it got to a point where she's like, hey, I can't do anything else with your arm. I've reached my limit. But she's like, it is my job to find you someone who can.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the surgeons and nurses shouldn't have told me, no, there's nothing you can do. They should have said, hey, I've never seen anything, but lead me in a direction. Maybe you should go check here, right?
Yeah.
Check here, rather than just like crushing my hopes
Yeah,
and dreams
sure.
multiple times over and over, right? Like their job isn't to sell a pipe dream or to give unrealistic expectations either, because that's worse, right? It is just to triage and help guide you in the correct direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
I know. I know. Thank God.
Yeah. And then, so that's your walking, and keep in mind, everybody, I mean, this is 4 years in, and you just mentioned to this day, you're still working on the left shoulder, working on the arm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's the capacity of your left arm?
So I'm starting to be able to reach and grab things, which is great. I wasn't able to like extend my arm out very well to be able, like my arm would stay curled in to my body. So now I'm working on being able to like straighten my arm, reach and open my fingers at the same time to be able to grab things. And do that like above 90 degrees. Because everything I'd been working with is like waist height. So that's like the real being able to like open a drawer or open a cabinet, and grab a plate out of there. That's the type of stuff I'm starting to work on just now after 4 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's, watching you at Benchmark, like we've seen really good progress, I think, in 4 months, where, you come out of a stroke and come out of surgery and there's absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
There's no movement at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She can curl her fingers. She can't really open them.
That's typically harder.
Yeah.
Opening.
I mean, this is the closing is the natural motion.
Mm-hmm.
Opening is the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And they're working on that extension and retraction, and like watching, they'll give her a balloon and she'll pick it up this way. And it's just like, I'm watching her do this, and I swear it looks like she's trying to bench 250 pounds. You know what I mean? Just the amount of effort and focus. And I've learned, being like me or you or whoever, you're just living your normal life. Everything's working as it should.
We take it for granted.
You do.
You don't realize what your body does.
You just do things because from a toddler, you learned how to do things and you do them without even thinking about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And after a stroke, I realized it's even, in my opinion, it's probably even more difficult, because as a toddler, it's the natural process and design that okay, I am a Christian. She is a Christian, but depending on your view, whether it's a creator or evolution or whatever your view is, like, this is the design and the natural function. So your brain and your body want you to do these things, and you just kind of by nature like work it out and figure it out.
Yeah.
But after a stroke, you have to relearn how to do that, and you literally have to focus on every muscle movement, which is insane.
Yeah.
And you're right. We take it for granted.
Yeah. The hard part too is a lot of the times I would come home exhausted from my therapies, and it wasn't because of like me moving my body. There wasn't much movement happening. It's exhausting trying to rebuild those neural connections to find the right movement. So your brain is working overload to be able to remake these connections that you have lost.
Yeah. And you're trying to be really conscientious of everything you're doing when those actions prior maybe weren't even a part of your
Exactly.
business.
Yeah, that's probably why you look at your wife while she's trying to do stuff and she's focusing so hard.
Yeah.
It looks so difficult, and it's like a pretty minor movement, but she's trying to relearn, like, okay, like I'm sending signals to this muscle now, this muscle now, this muscle now. So there's a lot of cognitively, it was exhausting for me. It still is.
Yeah. It's kind of like, it's kind of like a long road trip. Like driving's not hard physically, but it's mentally exhausting because you have to pay attention to literally everything.
Yeah.
While you're so
good
you,
point.
you take a 10-hour drive down the road and you get back and you're just wiped out because you're doing 70 or 75 or whatever it is you're doing, but like there are so many things that can go wrong in the fraction of a second that you have to be super observant, and that's just draining. And it's the same, I guess it's kind of the same idea. You know, it's not like lifting a balloon. That's really not that difficult, but your brain is, like you said, working overtime in establishing all of that motor skill and what you have to do. It's just kind of crazy. And here's a question for both of you. Like, how should people who have had a stroke and or the person taking care of them, how should they think about recovery?
Yeah, I can start on this one because I have a lot of experience
You're
here.
the expert.
Yeah, right. Right. Slowly. Like put zero expectations. If you're the caregiver, don't put these massive expectations on the person you're caregiving. But the caregiver has a really important role in that. Like, I remember, like the first time I was able to move like my wrist. Right, I can move my fingers a little bit. Like, it seems like the smallest thing. Like, people are out there in the world doing major things that deserve a lot of praise. And then I was just sitting in a room where the therapist moved my wrist for the first time. Not a big deal, right? But you have to celebrate those
That is
wins.
a big deal.
It is, yeah, exactly. To me, it was huge. I was like, oh my God, I finally did it. So as the person who's living it, you have to celebrate those small wins because big wins don't come very often. And if you focus on the big wins, it's essentially like hoping you're going to be at the top of a staircase without doing the work to get there, right? So like it takes a lot of steps to be able to get there. So celebrating each step of the way up is extremely important. And as the caregiver, you are the perspective. You're the living perspective for them. Like my family would tell me, hey, by the way, a month ago you couldn't do this, right? So let's celebrate this small little thing. Let's celebrate this wrist moving. Because in my mind, I was just like, so what, right? I'm still a disabled person. This effing sucks. And so they offer that perspective to be like, no, dude. And therapists also offer that perspective to be like, hey, remember last week or 2 months ago or a year ago, you couldn't. So yes, so taking it very slow, being so kind to yourself. Being so kind to yourself because Marty knows my story very well, and you probably know my story from the video being up here in Rudder C. Peace. Like not having good mental health when you go through something so traumatic, for me, led me to really dark places.
Yeah,
really dark places. So it's important to not drown in what is so hard. And that's what these little wins help with. Like they help you keep taking steps forward, pun intended.
Yeah. And I think when folks experience a stroke, there's an identity piece of that. There's grief that comes both for the caregiver and the person that survived the stroke, because while the goal is to get back to your life, typically to become independent, to go back to the things you do, who you were, this has changed. It has changed not only, that you as a person, but it's changed your family dynamic, your relationships. And so there is a grieving process that folks go through that's very up and down, and takes, there's lots of phases of that and ebbs and flows as far as highs and lows. But I think having that awareness that you're going through that is important for both the caregiver and, the person that experienced it.
Right.
I would also say that stroke recovery is not linear. And typically in our society, we think, oh, you put the hard work in, you should see the result. Think about weightlifting, you start with 10 pounds and then you're getting stronger. So you go to 20 and you're getting stronger, and neuro rehab is not linear like that. You're going to see ups and downs and highs and lows and hills and valleys. But the ultimate goal of neuro rehab is, like Lucas said, to celebrate those highs and then kind of compare that upward
The long term,
trajectory,
yeah.
you know, so you're going to have ups and downs, but you want to see all those peaks getting higher and higher
Yeah.
as time
It's like looking at a graph of the stock market.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up and down, but over time,
Right.
it's a climb.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I think that's a hard concept for folks going through that rehab process, including the caregivers, because we're so hopeful that, you know, we want this grand outcome
Yeah.
at the end. And certainly that is there. But like Lucas said, holding on too hard to that end outcome, sometimes we overlook those little steps that are so important. And so I think that, from my perspective, I think that that's an important concept for folks to know.
Yeah. And I think we should be clear too that recovery after a stroke is multifaceted, because it's a physical recovery, it's a mental recovery, it's an emotional recovery.
Totally.
It's like the whole package, right? It's not just, I was, I'm playing football and broke my arm and now it's in a cast and in 6 weeks it'll be good and I'll be back to whatever. No, this is
Very different.
Yeah, this is like an all-encompassing, it's changed everything about your life.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to consider on what you are limited. You're now limited physically.
Yeah.
And then that is just, like you said, there's grieving because there is in your mind and heart a loss of either an occupation that you loved, or in your case, that you figured out you hated.
Well, and I also think there's maybe potentially some fear too, because we all have our dreams. And so something like this affects you, and then it's that fear of, what is my future going to look like, and that's a part of that grieving process as well.
Yeah.
And I know in Lucas's case, he's worked really hard to continue to persist and find himself now. And there's an acceptance, I think, that works through that whole process. And then those hopes and dreams are still there.
They just look different.
They just look different.
Yeah.
And that is something that folks grieve.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I'm a life coach certified through Georgetown University, which is fun. But the biggest problem that stroke survivors have is like, I just want to go back to my old life.
I have that in the notes.
Right. I want to go back to my old life, the way that I was, because I was really happy and I liked the way that I was. Right. And as I coach people, that's the biggest barrier. And what the hardest thing to come to terms with is that you're never going back to your life. You can go back to the same job. You can do the exact same things you were doing before, but you've had a major traumatic event. You're never going to be the same person that you were before. That is impossible. So that's the first difficult thing. The next difficult thing is to realize, and it's a good thing. Now that I've been through something so difficult, I'm actually so much better of a person than I was before. I'm more present with my wife. I'm more present with my kids. I recognize that all the things that I took for granted with my body, my life situation. But people drown so deep in like the difficulties of the day, which is natural. I did. That the hardest thing to realize, I'm never going to have a full recovery ever. But I can still find happiness.
Yeah.
Happiness is not my physical body.
Right.
Right. Happiness is how I see the world and the people I surround myself with. Right. So that's really difficult for people to come to terms with after a stroke, and the most important thing. Right. But it takes time. And as a caregiver, that's something that you have to be very patient with.
Yeah.
Because shifting your dreams is difficult, right? I had to let go of all the dreams that I had, right? I thought I was going to be living in New York City for years and years and years, still like living the dream, making a crap ton of money. And my priorities changed. I don't care about any of that, right? I care about helping people now, right? So yeah, letting go of those lofty dreams was very difficult. You have to let go of who you were. I actually did. The way that I was able to do it is I wrote an obituary for myself. which, by the way, if you want to write an obituary for yourself, don't send it to him. Or if you do, give a warning.
Show your family.
I shared it with my family without warning. And the first line of my obituary is Lucas de Affonseca died on May 29th, 2021. And they're like, what the hell? They're like re-traumatized, majorly re-traumatized. But writing that obituary for myself was really helpful because I was able to look back on my life and see all the things that I loved, like doing, the things that I didn't like, and then finish it off with like, okay, if the person before the stroke, the Lucas before the stroke, had any advice to give the Lucas now, what would it be? How should I live now?
That's great.
And that was a wonderful exercise for me. And that's been the one exercise that literally every single person that I have coached who's a young stroke survivor or TBI survivor, that's been the best exercise for them to be able to move forward in their lives.
It's closing a chapter is difficult in your life, but we tend to focus on that hardship and that difficulty because, like you said, you had plans and you had dreams. But you have to consider that closing a chapter means the beginning of a new one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means it's different.
Right.
And different can still be good.
Right.
So you have to consider that. And here is how I have approached being my wife's caretaker in the last 4 months, and this is how I will continue to do it. Emotionally, I am not there to tell her how she should feel. Mm-hmm. It's okay for her to be, and for me to let her be sad or mad or grateful or any other way that she should be, like, or that she is. Like, thankfully, my wife's emotion, like, so she didn't have what you talked about, deep brain stroke, right? Mm-hmm. So thankfully, her emotional regulation has been very good. Now, we've had bad days, and by the way, everybody has bad days. That's not specific to stroke people. Everybody has bad days, but you should understand that the entire brain is messed up and is trying to remap, and the emotional control a person had before stroke might be out the window after. But it's, as her husband, it's not my obligation to tell her how she should feel or try to control how she should feel, but it's to support and love her in those difficult moments, and help her along the way. So emotionally, that's how I approach it. And physically, to your point earlier, that's my exact approach. I'm there to encourage her in her various therapies. And of course, I want her to make a full recovery. And we can even talk about that. Like, what does full even mean? Right. It's such a nebulous, like, most people think like full recovery means I'm exactly as I was before this happened.
Yeah,
but that's probably not possible.
Right.
But I decided long ago that I was going to have literally zero expectations about what her gains should be and look like, because number one, I have no control over that. And I never want her to see or get the sense that I'm disappointed in her work or progress, because that's only going to discourage her more.
Of course.
Right? In what is already a discouraging process. Mm-hmm. So, like, I just view my role as her husband, straight up support, man. Mm-hmm. That's it. I'm not a dictator. I'm not, like, I'm there to maybe provide some grounding, like you said earlier, perspective,
for sure,
and help her see and remember that, this sucks, but remember, you couldn't do this 2 weeks ago, or whatever, and just. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to be an albatross around her neck, because she doesn't need that.
Yeah, and I love the support that you give, because a lot of the times, the support you give through the range of emotions that we are going to have as stroke survivors, because I will be having a bad day, and I'll tell someone who is not like a close family member, and I'll be like, yeah, today just sucks, I'm having a really bad day, and their response will be something like, yeah, but you've been through so much, you're strong, you got this, push through. And I'm like, that's exhausting. They're like, you're a fighter, you're a warrior. I was like, I don't want to be a warrior. Like, I don't want to wake up and have to fight every single day, right? It's exhausting. It is exhausting to do that every single day, and that to be the expectation of like, no, just keep fighting. I'm like, screw that. I give up. Right? I'm just a boy. I'm just a boy. I'm a real boy. Right. So it's like, so like my family, like when I tell them I'm having a bad day, they're like, man, that sucks. Like, you know what? Have your bad day.
Yeah.
Right. Have your bad day. To let yourself feel what you're feeling. Like them giving me that permission is what helped me be able to sit with myself and be like, oh, like it's a bad day today. I don't necessarily even need to know why it's a bad day, but I'm going to let myself feel sad about this. And letting yourself feel sad is important as a stroke survivor too, because I remember when I first moved to Greenville from Atlanta, I wanted to cry all the time, and I did. And then it got to a point where I was like, okay, I got to curb this. So every time I start to cry, I'm going to stop because it's not helpful. This is a balance for sure. But I got to a point where I was supposed to meet a new person for the first time, my age, a young person. I was going to go to a soccer game with him and my parents and his boss. Long story, but I started crying, couldn't stop, hours. I could not stop crying for hours because I had not let myself feel sad for 6 months. And so my body was like, oh yeah, oh, you're going to cry now? Or like, here's literally everything. All the buildup from the not crying that you did. Here we go, buckle up, right? So literally like 3 hours of nonstop crying. Didn't go to the soccer game that I was supposed to go to. So all that to say, like, it is so important to respect your feelings and understand when they come. You need to feel them, process them.
I mean, if it was a like all the time thing, then I would start asking some investigative questions like, what's going on here? But it's just having a bad day. Okay, whatever. Have a bad day. That's all right.
Right. Exactly.
So
because, and that's also a very good point. If I was crying all day, every day, like major red flag, right? Major red flag. Something needs to be done. But if it's just like, oh, nope, today's just a bad day, like, I love your approach. I think that's exactly the right approach to take.
All right, well, let me just take a second and say that if you are ready to make a real estate move in Greenville, South Carolina, as a local realtor with C. Joyner and a member of Nexus Group, I strive to get you the best deal in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of disturbance to your life. Let's find your place in Greenville together. Call me at 864-207-2316 or visit my website, Chris Strother, that's Strother, chrisstrother.cdanjoyner.com. All right, we've got about 40 minutes or so before you've got to get back to work, I think. So we'll jump into this next section, the Young Stroke Support Group. So both of you chime in however you want to handle it. Tell me about the Young Stroke Support Group and how it got started.
Well, I think, we've been seeing younger and younger in age strokes over the past probably 3 years, maybe longer. And when Lucas, I knew Lucas because he came to therapy here. I wasn't his therapist, although I really enjoyed covering that one day when we went to practice, taking him to the barber and opening the doors so that he could have his first solo outing.
Right.
And Lucas he's just impressive. He's worked so hard through his recovery, and I think has his awareness around just who he is as a person and how he's grown is remarkable. And he has a great heart for giving back. So I knew that there was something you were looking to kind of get involved and kind of a way that you could give back to people who have had strokes. And so we have a stroke support group that Whitney runs over at the hospital. And I was thinking it would be great to have that group for the younger population here, because we were seeing so many folks come through our walls for rehab. And so I reached out to Lucas and said, I'd love to start this initiative with you. And he was like, yeah, right on board. And then we brought your friend Nico into the mix. And so my intent of the group was really to have it be led and facilitated by folks that really understand what has happened, and really understand that perspective of having a stroke and going through that recovery and rebuilding their lives. And so Lucas was very happy to participate. And so they're doing a great job. And really, Lucas and Nico are really leading the charge here. I'm just providing the space.
Yeah, and for context on my end too, I had the stroke in 2021, middle of COVID.
Great time. Not that there's ever a good time for a stroke, but I mean, hey.
Yeah, wonderful timing.
Yep.
And so because of that, groups were not allowed to get together. So I attended one, like I think probably in the last month that I was at the Roger C. Peace here in Greenville was the only time that I ever, there's like one group led by a guy where there was like maybe 5 of us that joined during our therapies during the day. So there were no groups. So I wasn't able to talk to anyone to be like, hey, what does recovery look like? Right. I never had the example of like, oh, hey, I will never have a full recovery, but I'm a happy person still. I was never able to get that perspective. And that was really hard because then you're just stuck in your silo. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm screwed. Like, this is it for me. It doesn't get better because I didn't have a single example. And I was too disabled to be able to go out into the world and meet people. Right. And I couldn't drive for the first year and a half, 2 years. So all of these things just isolate you more and more. And it felt shitty, right? I felt alone, right? Like I had my family and friends, thank God, but they don't understand they'll never, I hope they will never understand, right? What I'm going through. And so I always wanted there to be some sort of support group for someone to pass along their knowledge to me. And fortunately or unfortunately, it doesn't matter. I've just kind of had to go it alone. Until Marty reached out and she's like, hey, I want to do this group and, I'm still not working. I'm on long-term disability. Let's go. So I have the time for it now while I try to build up a coaching business and a public speaking business. And it was so amazing. I got to be a part of this group and see how differently strokes affect everyone and be that person to get perspective. Right. Because, I don't like to say that I had a bad stroke because the more I say I had a bad stroke, the harder it's going to be for me. So I just say like, it was a massive stroke that I had. Right. And so when I talk to people, they're like, dude, you're still 4 years out and like, you're still doing therapy and stuff. They're like, that sounds miserable. And to be the perspective to be like, no, like it's not miserable. Like I've never loved myself more in my life. Like I'm so happy. And to be able to share that with people, even the people in the group that you've seen, they're like, oh, nice. They're like, okay, great. Like there is hope. There's hope for a good life, right? Because see, the future is the most difficult part. Like seeing a positive future, right? Like how am I going to be, like I'm 33 years old living with my parents on long-term disability. Like what future do I have right now, right?
Hey, ladies.
Yeah, right. Want to come back to my
33-year-old man living with his parents. Yeah,
exactly. And sex is a whole other topic that I'd be happy to get into at some point. But yeah, that looking into the future is so difficult, and seeing anything positive, right? Like, oh, fulfillment. And so that's why I really like the stroke support group and coaching young stroke survivors too, to be that example of like, no, like you can still have a really good life.
Yeah. So the purpose behind the young stroke support group is, I mean, it's giving people perspective, and hope, because when we came to the first meeting, I didn't really know what to expect, but it was encouraging for me, to bring her, because I was hoping to see multiple people who have all suffered a stroke and to see the various stages of their abilities, to let you know, okay, the current state that I am in physically right now this is not final.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's stages to this thing. I mean, and even back to what we're saying about you, 4 years later, you're in really great shape still limited use of the left arm, but still, I mean, your cognition is, I mean, for all intents and purposes, mentally, you're as you should be.
Sure.
We'll just have some physical limitations, but like there's like, what can't you do besides climb trees because you can't curl your toes, right?
Well, I mean, and that's a really good question because there's times where I have to remind myself, like, I'm never going to have a full recovery, right? And when I do that, to avoid spiraling, like my hamstring might never come back, meaning it'll always be difficult for me to walk up stairs. There always has to be a railing with stairs. But then you have to think back, it's like, okay, if my hamstring doesn't come back, because this happened the other day, my therapist is like, I'm not sure. It's been 4 years. We've been trying. It might not come back. So I spiraled initially, which is natural. You have to do that. Pull myself out and ask myself, okay, like, what do I lose? What do I actually lose? I was like, I don't lose my family. I don't use my quality of life right now. I don't lose my friends. I don't lose this future that I have for myself. So I, in fact, don't lose anything important.
Right.
Right? Like,
who wants to climb stairs anyway?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. But it's easy to fall into like, yeah, I will never run again. I will never. So being able to give myself the perspective to be like, oh, I actually don't lose anything that actually matters to me, is so important. And that's honestly an exercise I've done with myself, God, at least a dozen times over these last 4 years to remind myself, like, I still have my friends. I still have myself. I'm alive. I have the ability to make new connections, right? I have the ability to meet Marty. Like, life is great.
You make people laugh.
I do. Thanks, Marty. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are the plans? Like, I mean, I understand the concept, but like, what are the plans moving forward for young stroke support group, or YSSG for short? How about that? Like, what are you trying to accomplish moving forward? What are the plans for growth? Like, what do you want to do with this thing?
Well, I mean, from my perspective, I think the plans are to provide an opportunity for community and for there to be a space where people can come and share, their story and be with other people who have a perspective about what they're going through. And, I know Lucas and I and Nico have talked about, potentially is there opportunity for group outings for this group to kind of have that community be in spaces outside, and have fun, doing things. I don't know if you have any other.
No, I fully agree. And like, when not driving, right? You can't get out places.
Yeah.
For the first couple of years, I literally could not leave, right? So, and when I did leave, it was always very intimidating. Like, what are people going to think of me? I know that I don't move normally. I don't look normally. There's just a lot of insecurities, right? Like, I don't belong out here in the world with all the normals. So what I needed was a space to be around other people that were like me out in the world somewhere else. And again, yeah. So the way that I envision it, I think it's great to have it here to be able to talk about the real problems everybody's having. But also opening up the space to going out to like the Gather or go to like the brewery, not necessarily drink beer, but like,
depends on your meds, man.
True. Very true. But yeah, like be out in the world experiencing stuff like a normal person, right? Like that feeling of feeling normal is so difficult.
Yeah.
Like the first time that I can't remember what I called it, but it's the first time that I went out by myself before I could drive.
Your Independence Day.
My Independence Day, that's what it was. I went to a coffee shop. I went to Old Europe. I took an Uber to Old Europe and just hung out there for a couple of hours and then went home. The first time I ever went out, and that took a couple of years to get there too. And I just remember sitting there and being like, oh my God, I'm just out in the world. People are walking by. They probably don't know that I'm disabled other than this cane. Like, I'm here, I'm doing it. And unfortunately, in that moment, I did like the most not normal thing to do in public. I cried, right? God. Why, Lucas? I'm such a softie. So I'm crying in public. That wasn't cool. But I'm glad I allowed myself
to. Tears of joy.
It was tears of joy. Like, what better reason to cry, right? And so it was amazing. I was like, okay, I did it.
Yeah.
And like, that was the moment for me to be like, okay, I can be out in the world. Like, I can start to do this.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think it's important to help at some point this group, every once in a while be like, okay, let's all go be normal together somewhere else. Right.
Yeah.
Because it's not normal being here. Having a stroke is not normal. Right.
Sure.
So being here at a rehab center, again, not normal. So to get any sense of normalcy is to be on the world where the people are.
Right. Yeah. So my wife, so, before the stroke, she was working 50, 60 hours a week or more, depending on how many babies were, on deck. And so she was hardly ever home. Like, she worked a lot.
Yeah.
And now she's home all the time. And if she goes anywhere, like I take her to, so we have physical therapy 3 days a week. We have speech therapy twice a week. Every other week we go to her chiropractor who specializes in a lot of neurological things. We see him, and then we're probably going to get her lined up for some hyperbaric chamber therapy.
Nice.
And so that's more, but she's home, or I, as her husband, I'm taking her to all these appointments, and then it's back home. And of course, I try and take her out from time to time, just for a date or whatever, because like, I'm not strictly her caretaker, and she's a patient. That's my wife, right? So, but she's mobile enough to be able to do things. And so I put out just to all of her friends, she had 6 weeks in the hospital from surgery to release from RCP. I mean, there's a major case of cabin fever. We got one outing to the zoo in 6 weeks. Well, we went to home team barbecue, and then we went to the zoo. And that was great. But it can be the same at home. Like you said, cabin fever. So I put out to all of her friends, I'm like, hey, she's in a good spot. If y'all want to come pick her up and take her for coffee or a meal, or go to botanical gardens, or wherever the heck you want to do, she would love it. I would love for you to do it, because it's good for her, for somebody to take her out other than her husband. Right. And so we've got friends coming, what is today? Tuesday? Yeah, I don't know. Do you lose track of time now? Yeah, I mean,
100%.
So we have friends coming Wednesday and Friday to do stuff with her, for which I'm grateful.
Yeah.
And of course, it's also good for me as the caretaker, just to be able to unwind a little bit. But I don't even know what to say. Like, it's just, strokes are.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's really important to tap into your community if you have it, right? Like, I didn't have a single friend. I didn't know anybody in Greenville. I'd never been to Greenville before.
You moved here after your stroke.
Exactly. I moved here after my stroke. I was like, well, I don't have anyone except for my parents, lovely parents. But so it's great for you to tap into your resources, because it must be so difficult No, I'll say that again. It must be so easy to blur the lines between wife and husband and caregiver, right? Like, what are my responsibilities here? And making sure that there's a divide. Like, when I was still engaged to my ex, it was very clear that it was just a caregiver, right? There wasn't able to be that space for us to also be just engaged as partners, right? And that was a bad situation, minorly abusive, like I said. And you guys seem to have a very healthy relationship, which is unique and awesome. But finding that balance of like, okay, can we just go on a date today? Right? Like, it's so tiring for the stroke survivor and for the caregiver too, right? Like, you also have to go through the process of like, the life that I had before is gone. The life that I had with my wife and for myself is gone. Forever, right? And so like, you have to go through your own of like, okay, what does my life look like now? How can I be the best caregiver that I can be and still be the best husband that I can be as well? And that's a lot of responsibility, right? Not that it's a bad responsibility to be a good husband, like that's great, but it's a lot. I know it was on my ex. She had a breakdown at some point and had to left for a weekend, you know what I mean, with friends, which I thought was great. That's exactly what I wanted her to do. So like, finding that independence, doing your own things, her doing her own things with her friends, so important.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I really make a distinction between husband and caregiver, just because the nature of being a husband is that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or wife. Like you just, she's mine, I'm hers. We're one together, spiritually speaking. And so like whatever she needs, before before we got married, I knew what she did for a living. I knew she worked a lot. And and I spent a lot of lonely evenings because she's delivering babies or whatever. And there were times where she would be, beating herself up about it and not being home. And then like one day, and I've said this, I don't know how many times, but one day it finally clicked. And I just, in her brain, and I told her, I said, look, I did not go into this blind. I knew exactly what I was getting into. And I'm willing to sacrifice at this current moment in time. I'm willing to sacrifice whatever I need to for you to be as successful as you want to be, so that we 20 years from now can have the type of future and retirement that we want to have.
Right.
So go work. It's okay. That's fine. Now, that's obviously been turned on its head, but the attitude is still the same. This is my wife, whom I love beyond being able to put it into words. And so literally whatever she needs, I will do. Whether that's a lot, whether it's a little, whether that's me putting in more than I feel like I'm capable of, or pulling back if I need to. It's just, if you have a husband or you have a wife, you're all in, no matter what that means. So that's, I don't know, that's just how I roll with it.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. It's really, I mean, it's very freeing, I think, for you.
Yeah, no attachments is amazing.
Well, and I don't think she would mind me sharing this. I hope you don't mind me sharing this.
We'll see.
What are you going to do about it? Well, look, okay, and this, if you're listening to this podcast, I hope to high heaven that your husband or your wife, you never have a stroke, right?
Yep.
Nobody would wish that on anybody. There was a time where after all of this, she was very distraught emotionally and afraid that she was not enough for me anymore, which honestly is a valid feeling from somebody who is now severely disabled.
Yep.
And you feel like you're now a burden to your husband or wife or on your family. And nobody wants to be a burden.
Yeah.
And I just had to remind her that, like, I love you for who you are, and that love abides continually, and it's not dependent on if your body functions properly. I mean, like, those are the marriage vows, right? More or less.
Totally.
And so,
yeah.
And of course, now, I think we mentioned this in the last session we were here talking about those promises you make when you get married. Obviously, you make them and you mean them, but they're not tested. And now it's being tested, right?
Totally.
And so we went through a couple of episodes of that where she was feeling just the weight and worried that I was just going to get tired of taking care of her and go away.
Yep. And
I'm sure that's happened many times in the world.
For sure.
But I just had to comfort her and let her know that, look, I'm the ride or die. That's who I am. That's who we are.
That's great.
So it's okay. I'm here. I'm going to be here.
Well, I will say though that is rare, and I've said it a couple like that. I think that's unconditional love, right? I think love a lot of the times is conditional. The love that I have,
that's not love.
Well, exactly. Exactly. Like the love I thought I had with my ex was conditional, not love, right? And seeing you two, the way that you guys interact with one another, that is unconditional love, right? That's why it doesn't seem like a big deal for you, right? You're like, oh no,
Right.
like like you're the love of my life. Like I'm not going anywhere. But I will say too, like it's so easy to lose your entire value as the stroke survivor. Like, what do I even like offer to you now? Like you're taking care of me. Like what can I give to you? Right. I'm seeing that now as a 30, I'm almost 33. My birthday's next week. As a 33-year-old, being like, I thankfully did not marry the person I was going to. And most of the stroke survivors here are married and they're just able to continue in their relationships like the two of you. And I'm in this position now where I'm just like, okay, I'm 33. How the hell am I going to find anyone to even give me a chance? Right. Like, what do I have to offer someone? Like, it feels like, I don't know if you felt this way too. It's like people have to make concessions to be with me. Like, what do they have to give up to be with someone who is disabled, right? Like, what part of your life are you giving up? I'm never going to be able to run with your kids and throw them in the air, right? Like all these things, like we talked about before, I will never be able to, right? So it's easy to fall into that. It's like, what do I even have to offer someone? Which I'm assuming that's somewhat how you feel. Like, what do I offer in this relationship? Like, you're doing everything, right? So that's something that I'm battling now. The line I always say is like, put me in a lineup with all the eligible male bachelors in Greenville. Who on earth is going to pick the one that looks weird, moves funny? Like, at face value, no one would choose me in my mind, to be clear. This is when I'm spiraling. So like, how on earth will I go out there into the world and have someone look at me and not see me as less than? Because that's how I see myself, right?
Sure. Well, but that's all for those of us who, you, me, and you're, like you said, soon to be married, me, other people, like that is only surface.
100%.
Love is so much deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, that old saying that beauty's only skin deep, but ugly goes to the bone. It just
That's hilarious. I had not heard that one.
Yeah, it like you don't look when you look normal.
Thanks.
Yeah, you do. I mean, there's nothing
What is
wrong with how you
normal?
Well, yeah, true.
exactly
True.
I
right.
mean,
Yeah.
Normal's the setting on your dryer.
Right.
Say that all the time.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
but you mentally function properly, you speak properly. So yeah, you have a disability with your left arm and you don't walk, quote unquote, normal.
Right.
But there's a person in there. There's a personality. There's somebody who has, I'm sure, wants and desires and needs and has joy and happiness. By the way, the joy and the happiness that's in you is going to be attractive to somebody.
Totally.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of love in your heart to give to somebody who is going to be willing to receive that love and needs that love, which the body is a shell of a soul that is inside.
Sure.
And yeah, somebody's going to want that, man.
Totally.
Because it's just, and what does she provide me? She is, I don't know, she's the object of my love. She's the focus. And like, I don't know, what would she provide? Like, I don't need her to do laundry and make meals and clean the house and like, she didn't do that. She didn't do that anyway. I did all that stuff beforehand. But you see, they were like, all right, so this is a second marriage for me. And not to get into the first one, but, and the dumpster fire that ended in, like, I remember arguments with my former spouse and, her going on about, I'd clean your bathrooms and make your meals and blah. And I just looked at her one day and I said, I'm a grown man. Do you think I need a woman to make my food and clean my bathroom and do my laundry? That's not why I married somebody. Yeah. You marry somebody for the companionship and for the love.
Sure.
I'm completely able to do these things. That's not why I need you.
Right, right.
And so, like, what does she, I mean, This turns into a marriage counseling podcast. Yeah, like, I don't know, just like a person who's had a stroke and is now, and of course hers is still very fresh, right? We're almost 4 months in, and so like no, we don't have conversations and communications like we used to, and like we would laugh a lot and hang out and just chat, and so that's missing.
Mm-hmm.
But I know it will come back with time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. She provides me a lot of joy and happiness, and she always has. So, and that hasn't changed. Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hasn't changed. But I can understand, like you said, the fear and the value of a person who's had a stroke. Like, what do I provide now?
Yeah, and it's so interesting how, like, for speaking about myself, like I know that I made my physical body such this huge thing that someone has to overcome, that even in my mind, I'm like, okay, if I can swindle someone into dating me, I'm like, I have so much to offer, right? I know that I have so much to offer, but now this stroke that I've had almost creates this shell around me where I'm not allowing myself to meet someone, right? Because I feel less than because of my physical body. When I know that's not the case. I know I'm so much more than my physical body.
Yeah.
But regardless, because I live in this body, there's times where I'm just not attractive, right? Like physically not attractive. And like, maybe that's already a barrier for someone. Like, am I walking baggage for someone, right?
But somebody might have thought about that about you prior to your stroke.
Oh, totally. 100%. 100%. And I know all of this is not true.
Yeah.
Right. I know this is all not
These are
true.
just
These are the things we tell ourselves.
Yeah, these are the malignant thoughts that
right. Exactly.
mess with you.
Exactly. Yeah. This is if I go out and I don't meet someone, I was like, oh, I was right. I was trying to protect myself here. Right. I was telling myself, I knew like this wasn't, so like this story that I told myself, I prove right. Right. So I don't make myself feel bad if I don't meet someone. Right. Yeah. So that's something I'm trying to get over, slowly but surely. But I know there's someone out there who will just look through this and be like, I don't give about what you look like. That doesn't matter, because I don't either. Right. I don't care what someone looks like. So like, I think the best part about my body is that it is a natural filter. If someone has a problem with my physical body, they're not going to approach me.
That's a good point of view.
Right? They're not going to give me a chance.
That's a good perspective.
So I know that if I meet someone, it will be because they care about who I am as a person, and not because of the physical things that I can do for them.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to get there. I actually just got there like a month ago.
Oh, good for you.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. So now I'm going to start putting myself, I tried the dating apps.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, Lord, were they bad? Holy moly. I was like,
although I met my fiance.
Let's go. Let's go.
And I told him I was about to quit dating.
Okay.
It had been so long, and I was only the second person he met. And I'm like, you got it easy.
Yeah, right.
That's funny.
Oh my God.
All right, a few more questions, and then we'll wrap it up.
Cool.
Let's go back really quick to the stroke support group.
Mhm.
Like, what does a successful group look like in your opinion?
Okay, I'll start on that. I think I initially was like, okay, the most amount of people that can join this group, like we need to get as many people to join this group.
We're
as
so
possible.
American-minded,
right?
man. Numbers.
Yeah, quantity, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I thought initially. I was like, we need to get the most amount of people. And it's like, and then I realized after the first group we actually had the most the first group. We had maybe 6 or 7 people. One time we had 1 person. And it was one of the best weeks. So for me, success is just continuing this going as long as there's people interested in this and that need it, it's a success. If they show up, like one woman, I was like, okay, the time that is just 1 person, I was like, well, maybe we do this monthly now instead of bi-weekly. And she's like, nope. She's like, no, because if I miss it 1 month, that means that's 2 months that I don't get to come here.
Right.
She's like, it's still worth it for me to come, and it's just me and you here, Lucas. That's all I need.
Yeah, I agree. I think success is just having people show up, even if it's the same people.
Just giving them an outlet
Yep.
to talk
Yep.
about how they feel.
Talk and learn and just feel that camaraderie.
Yeah. Well, I felt so bad for that lady who was telling her story about how she had a stroke and then her husband like broke his knee, and I'm like,
my God.
Yeah, they had a rough
ringer,
couple
man.
years.
Yeah. Well, I just
As a family.
Well, but you could just tell like she needed an outlet.
Yeah.
100%. Exactly. Like she hadn't cried about that in a while. It's like, she needed to get that out.
It's not just about giving the answers. It's about being heard and being able to, in a safe space, be able to express what you're going through at that time. And I think that brings a really great sense of healing to people, is to be able to say your story, say how you're feeling, say, this sucked, and have people that have an open space for you to say that and feel supported in that.
And that is success.
Yeah.
Because it just gives people a chance to, like you said, start treading water where they were drowning beforehand.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm glad you gave that example too, because in that moment I said, oh, thank God we created a safe space. Because before, everyone is definitely sharing personal stuff about their lives, which you need a safe space for. But for someone to show up and cry for minutes straight, trying to tell their story, and no one said anything. Everyone just let her, right?
Right.
Like no one said, oh, you should feel this way. She just cried, and everybody sat there and said, and just waited for her to finish. That's all we need. We just need someone to be like, good job. That's exactly what you needed to do. And a hug.
Right. So how is, like, what's the outreach, or how is word being spread about the Young Support Group?
Well, there's room for work on that, I believe.
Sure.
We have, we do post information about the frequency of this Young Stroke Support Group on the Roger C. Peace Instagram account.
Okay.
And the Facebook account. And Lucas has shared the information about the group with some people he knows through his network.
Yeah.
Sure.
Come on, Mr. Marketer.
Good point.
Well, and now this podcast will help.
Well, I don't have a massive audience, but some people will hear.
Yeah. I created another stroke support group right before this one started, a social one, where there's literally 4 or 5 of us, and we'll just get dinner once a month or so. And so I was able to share with them. And so every once in a while they will come and join. That's where Jeremy came from. So I just try to tell people, I just tell them to tell people. It's just the
word of mouth
thing. Exactly. I mean, the hard part is, like, young strokes are not very common.
Well, that's the thing.
So
I was going to ask you, and I don't know if you know the numbers off the top of your head, but since you're in this arena, like, I imagine most strokes are what, 55 plus? No, 60 plus. You don't even know
that these
Can
days.
you?
I mean, if I think about we have, because of our program, we have a lot of opportunity to share the information about the stroke support group with our patients here, and then also at Roger C. Peace. So Whitney's been a great advocate for getting people there. But I mean, it's remarkable how many 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds are having strokes. The numbers have dramatically increased in the last probably 3 to 5 years.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Do you have, I guess, just, I don't know, right now the program,
so
I shouldn't say the program is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, for our program, it's about split. So we have about 55% stroke patients that come here, and then the other 45% are other brain injuries.
Okay. But the young stroke support group, the program is, I don't know, the relatively small is the right word, but just the number of people that attend.
Yep.
But as those numbers increase, like you said, though, that's not necessarily the goal.
No.
It'd be nice, I suppose, in some realm, that the more people that attend, the more opportunity it is that you have to impact / help people.
Right.
I don't know, but maybe, maybe one day there will be its own website in the works, or just, all those things. Because right now, like you said, it's just incorporated into the RCP social media account and
word of mouth.
and all of that, and word of mouth.
Exactly. Yeah, it's almost like, man, I hope this doesn't need to be a thing. Like, let's stop having strokes.
I know.
Ideally, there's no need for this, but there is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Last question probably, and we can wrap it up. So, Marty, what are some good, I'd say local, I mean, obviously we're at Prisma, so that goes without saying, and Roger CP's. But if somebody's listening and they're struggling with stroke recovery, obviously they should reach out to RCP. Or do you know some good like online resources that you can direct people to? Or
the Brain Injury Association of South Carolina has a hotline. I should know that number off the top of my head.
They just Google it. Brain Injury Association of South Carolina.
Yeah, and that's a good resource for finding information about other strokes, other support groups in the state, as well as providers. Right. So different therapy providers for whatever your needs are. And then Prisma Health has several stroke support groups. I believe there's one in Oconee. And then Whitney's group over at the hospital, and then our group here. There's also there's a brain injury support group through the Brain Injury Association of South Carolina that's in the upstate. So there are, and then also there's always me. They can call me.
Yeah. You can call Marty.
And I'd be happy to help.
Yeah. So what can people do, or how can they get involved with various stroke recovery programs if they want to? Any ideas?
Well, from a rehab perspective, typically you would need a physician's order, unless you're finding a private provider.
Like if somebody wanted to volunteer to help.
Oh, yeah. So Lucas is a volunteer through the hospital system. And there's a process you can go through to be a volunteer, to serve really any location. Yeah. So Lucas did that as a part of the Young Stroke Support Group. Yeah. There's also, we have at our facility, the West End Co-op, which is a small not-for-profit business that's a part of our program. So we utilize that business and all the business functions as opportunities for patients in our program to be able to practice real-life tasks. And so we do accept volunteers there. Folks would have to go through the Prisma Health volunteer process in order to be a part of that. But we have several volunteers that come in and do various things, from having interactions with people that have survived strokes, sharing their story. I think there's just something so valuable to that. And then also producing goods back there that we can sell and bring the money back into the co-op. So from a volunteer perspective, that's what we have at the hospital. Can you think of any other resources?
No, not really.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, look, I think we covered a pretty good amount of ground here. Anything you want to mention that we didn't talk about?
No, I'm just happy to have this opportunity, and
happy to be here.
Pretty proud of this gentleman right here, and
thanks, Marty.
Happy to meet you guys.
Yeah. Well, we should be at the next meeting. Look forward to that, and then we should totally set up like a dinner.
Right. I agree.
Everybody, we should all go out to
I fully agree.
Wherever.
Yeah.
And have a dinner together. That would be super fun.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, look, if I didn't say anything about the cigar box, but you've probably listened to the podcast enough to know the deal by now. But if you are in need of my services as a realtor or with the cigar box, you can get me direct at 864-207-2316. You can visit mobileCigarBox.com to check out the business and learn more about it and fill out the booking inquiry form if you like. Or if it's real estate related, shoot me an email to cstrother@cdanjoiner.com. Lucas and Marty, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
It's been super fun. I've enjoyed it. All right. Well, listen, you've been listening to Sunday Afternoon Smokes. I appreciate it. Share it with your friends and your family and on your socials. And share it with the world, because Sunday Afternoon Smokes is really sweet. We'll talk to you next time.